None of my homeboys want to help me out because we're in the same league, right? Going after that same money, the same fame. Wait a minute, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to call up Fantasy Football 101, man. They're going to help me out, right? Fantasy Football 101. It's the show that's lots of fun. Give the dudes a call right now. Won't cost you nothing anyhow. 5291450. The Cap City's #1 fantasy show. They really want you to call in your due. They'll be your fantasy boys. Your fantasy boys. 529-1450.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football 101 on Sports Radio 1450. Adam Stark, Eric Pedigo, and Mark Graham taking your phone calls at 529-1450. Big thanks to Adam Hawkins for that little intro. He's definitely an outstanding individual. And
I got to get that on my MP3.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
We'll take care of that after the show.
Okay.
529-1450 is the phone number taking your phone calls right up until 9 o'clock, and we'll also bring you our studs, duds, and sleepers for the week if we can even fit them in. On a bye week this week, just a reminder for you guys real quick here, Colts, Cowboys, Niners, and Dolphins. Don't play any of those guys.
Yeah.
None of their players or defenses. We have a problem in one of our leagues, Mark, where people apparently don't care that much.
They
play them anyway.
But that's not a problem for you guys.
No, it's frustrating, though, because, because the next week he plays me and plays his whole roster.
Yeah,
nice.
You like to play in a league that everyone's competitive and knows what they're doing. I don't like to win cheaply. It really.
One guy has a legit excuse.
I'll take what I can get. You guys are crazy.
Dutch is in Iraq, fine by me. If you can't check his team and he's fighting for our country, awesome. But the other guys, you're not doing nothing.
Yeah.
Come on. 529-1450 is the phone number. Good morning. You're on Fantasy Football 101. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, guys. It's Taz.
Morning.
I hear you, Jim. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm good. How you guys doing this morning?
Great.
Trying to wake up.
Yep.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
I've been talking on Twitter about this all week, and people just don't want to see it. And everybody's always talking about always start your studs. And if you look at it this year, there's no reason to always start your studs. Pretty much all the studs, and most people would consider studs the guys you picked in the first and second round. Most of them have not been steady performers week in and week out. What do you guys think about always start your studs?
I think usually you stick to always start your studs. The only time you waver off, and the thing that I try to say when I say things like just plug in your good guys, I don't want people reaching too far. It's one thing to replace a Drew Brees with a Matt Schaub. Matt Schaub is a legitimate stud himself, even though he might not have been ranked as high as Drew Brees. He can still go out there and get the job done, and you just have to be. There's a fine line because you don't want to reach too far. You don't want to pull out like Randy Moss for Sidney Rice ever in a week. You know what I mean? It just kind of depends on how far down you go and how far you're reaching. But usually you want to start your studs. If you replace your stud, you want to replace him with somebody that's also a legitimate, starter, even though they may not be ranked as high as the guy you're pulling out. But you don't want to reach too far. That's the only thing that that you have to be cautious about.
Jim, I think he's got it absolutely right. I'm still one to play the studs, but it's getting to the point the last year or so where the guys, like you said, the first round or two aren't putting up stud numbers. So now you've got to start looking. But as Eric said, I don't want to be reaching too far down and sitting a Brady or sitting a Randy Moss. I've got to be careful. But, yeah, I will look now more than I used to as far as when I have options against a stud.
Okay, well, these are the two combinations that brought the whole conversation up. This week, Andre Johnson is going against the Cincinnati team and Leon Hall, who has basically shut down every other team's #1 receiver all year. So I've been telling people that I don't like Andre Johnson this week, and for me, he's a sit. And the guy that I'm starting above him is actually Mike Sims Walker, as long as he doesn't have a date tonight.
And he is playing the Rams. That always helps.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, what do you think of that combination? Would you sit Andre Johnson to play Mike Sims Walker?
I wouldn't.
I tell you what, it's a bold move. I'd consider it. I can't tell you right now that I would, but I would consider it depending on the matchup. And you told me what the matchup was.
Yeah, Jacksonville's at home against St. Louis. That's a nice matchup.
That's a tough one to not play. And you think Sims Walker's going to want to redeem himself after being stupid last week.
That's what I'm thinking.
Who's your other wideout, Taz?
I got a bunch of them. This is a pretty big league.
I mean, who do you have that you're sitting Andre Johnson? I mean, I know Cincinnati has that one good lockdown corner, but overall they're 23rd against the pass. Not that great. Who do you have that you're sitting Andre Johnson?
Let's see. I have Marcus Colston. Even though he's going against the Giants, I think the Giants can be beat by Breeze. And I have Mike Sims-Walker, and I have Donald Driver going against Detroit as my 3 starters.
Yeah.
I would be tempted to switch that up to Andre Johnson, Sims-Walker, and then either Colston or Driver. I'm a little worried about Colston this week in that New Orleans passing attack. I mean, the Giants are no joke. They shut down the pass.
Well, they really haven't been tested, though. They haven't been tested by a truly dominant passing attack. To be honest, I mean, they've had a couple of cupcake games. The only game they, had that was even halfway decent was the Dallas game, and Romo. We all know Romo can be beat. So this would be the first time they're truly tested in their secondary, and they have a couple of injuries that'll hurt them. Michael Boley's out again, and he's turned into a fragile Freddy.
Hey, Jim, I appreciate you calling. I always like when you call. And anyone out there, fantasywiz.com, fabulous site.
Thanks for the phone call.
I appreciate that.
He's absolutely right. The Giants have had Washington, Dallas, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, and Oakland up to this point. So, you might make a good point. I was just looking at the numbers, but now that I'm looking through and looking at who the Giants have played, they haven't had a test yet. And Drew Brees is certainly a test.
Believe me, a man who has 54 leagues going, he knows everything that's going on.
No, he brings up an excellent point. But going back to yours, Eric, about playing those guys and sticking with them a little bit more is, that is still kind of a reach going with Sims-Walker. Yeah, he could have a good game, but he hasn't had the reputation of having a good game like Andre Johnson has. And who knows, Torrey Holt might be in the ear of his quarterback this week saying, hey, I want to rub it in their faces.
Yeah,
give me the rock this week. And, you might see Torrey Holt steal some balls this week from Sims-Walker when it has been going the other way around. So let's take another phone call. 529-1450 is that number. Good morning. You're on Fantasy Football 101. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I got a couple quick questions. Eric might know who this is by my first question. I have a flex option, and I'm questioning sitting Mendenhall and starting Johnny Knox.
Yikes.
Don't do that.
Serious question?
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do
Okay.
that.
My second question is, I know the Eagles are playing the Raiders, but Nani Asamoah is the shutdown corner that he is, and do I start Jerry Maclin instead of Deshaun Jackson?
Mark Mark says yes.
I'm shaking my head violently. Yes,
Maclin over Jackson.
Because because he's got it right. The unpronounceable shutdown corner is going to be on Deshaun Jackson about 75% of the time, and that leaves Joe Blow to cover the other guys. I
think that's actually the guy's name.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think Macklin's a great play again this week. Kevin Curtis practiced all week. Kevin Curtis is like 150 years old, and his knees are shot. Maclin is going to be the guy there. I like Maclin this week.
Is this Mike?
Yep.
What's up, buddy?
And my final question, IDP, defensive end James Adams just coming to the Bears. Do I start him this week, or is it too early?
Too early. Mangini's going to do a number with him. I look for James Adams to the last half of the season to really be a nice performer for the Bears. But you got to wait a week just to let him get used to the system and let Mangini talk to him in that. Mangini was a terrible head coach, but he's a great position coach, and I think he'll work wonders with Adams. But, yeah, wait a week.
All right, thanks, guys. Eric, I'll be talking to you later.
All right, thanks for the phone call. 529-1450 is the phone number. That's your mic'd up buddy, correct?
Yeah, it is my mic'd up buddy.
Yep, I just met him yesterday, actually, on Facebook. But,
now there's a shortage of
some ABC News for you there. Late breaking news at 8:30. Thanks for tuning in to Fantasy Football 101 here on Sports Radio 1450. Since you brought up Kevin